Hello, good evening, and welcome to another live stream, number 29, I believe. I think, if I've set that up correctly. It's now a Tuesday, so this is uncharacteristically midweek, start of the week. Basically not a Sunday, because we've just had Easter and I was away bank holiday weekend. So I did actually do a lot of work on the game over the weekend and over the Easter break, but I just didn't get a chance to do a live stream because I was elsewhere. I was over in West Cumbria. So I was on my laptop getting on with some bits of pixel art and things. And last week, since the previous live stream, I was also setting up a new puzzle and things as well that I've put a community post out about. So these are, I guess, getting earlier if you're not part of British summertime. It is kind of light outside, and the desire to be outside on my bike is quite high. So I'm having to force myself to close the blinds and crack on with some work. But the advantage to summertime is that it stays light later. So when I end up walking the dogs later on, it's probably not quite going to be dark, which is nice. So tonight, as usual, not anything particularly planned. I've got a big list of things that I need to get on with. So if you're watching this back, which I hope you are, I'm presuming there's not going to be many people on the live chat this evening, which is a shame because I do really enjoy everybody's input. And we had some great stuff last week from some new followers as well on Twitch and on YouTube. So really appreciative of all of that. If you're watching this back, then if there's any questions that crop up, anything that I've done in here that needs a bit more explanation from this particular stream, then just drop a comment, ask me to go over it next time. And then if you're along for the live streams, then I can help you out with your games and any questions you have on Adventure Creator, Unity or a Sprite as you're going along with the live streams. So I'm gonna jump in, I think, first of all, just to catch everybody up with things that have happened since the last live stream. So I'll jump straight into a Sprite first. As the community post said, I finally got round to animating Tyler, who is the shop assistant. And I need some walk cycles for him to get him about the screen. At the moment he's just sliding about whenever I need to move him. He's not in a huge amount of motion, so I think I might be able to get away with just a left and a right facing walk. I might not need to do an up the screen and down the screen walk cycle for him, because I can probably get away with not doing that. It'll save some time. So I'll just play back these. So this right one, he's got this little red mobile phone in his hand all the time because he's a youth, of course, and this green hair which sways about. So this has turned out quite nice, quite happy with this little walk cycle. Is that playing backwards? No, seems strange. And then the left-hand side one as well, I've got that one. So his hair sways about, he's got a little blink in there, got some nice motion on his arms and things, got his phone in his hand, of course. So that's all set up, and some of those, I think I've done something to that walk cycle. He's got a little skip in it that wasn't there before. Must have created another frame somewhere. So I've got that going, I've got that into Unity now, and it looks quite nice. I was testing it out in just a little template scene that I set up. Worth doing this as well if you've got lots of complex scenes. All I've done is set up a just an on-start cutscene. I'll just drag that down at this monitor, which just waits a second and then resets his animation and then sends him walking off to a point over here in the distance, and then pauses for few seconds and walks back. So it's just testing out those walk cycles, basically making sure they're triggering. Got them imported earlier on. Should be able to see that. So he stood still there and he walks off to the distance, stops, faces forward, waits a few seconds and then walks back again. So with Clive, with the main character, he's got a walking towards the camera, walking away from the camera. It's quite an extreme distance that I'm testing Tyler out there. On a lot of the scenes, he's only ever moving like a little bit up the screen, so I don't think I'm going to need him walking away or towards the camera. That might change, but hopefully not. One thing I am going to need for him is a talking animation where he's facing away from the camera, because there's a bit where he's talking to a customer in the shop later on. And as much as I'm pretty happy with these side views, I think I've kind of captured his character from the side. Let's open his front one. Characters, Tyler, front. So that's what he looks like from the front. I'll just dock that along that. So it was, again, tips if you're designing characters. Tyler is asymmetrical. So this side, his hair covers his face. The other side, his face is visible. He holds his mobile phone in his right hand. So when he's walking, you can see it at the foreground, and then at the background when he's facing the other way. His name badge is on one side, and he's got his shirt untucked on one side as well. So all of those things needed to be considered when I set up those bits of animation for him. I think this one's got some talk animations as well. He's also got a couple of other animations that I set up a while back that I don't think I've actually used in the game yet. They're kind of like an idle thing where he lifts his phone up. That's playing really quickly there, but so he lifts his phone up to look at it, and then he's got this phone idle thing where he's just kind of staring at his phone basically, and then there's an idle one where he's just stood like blinking and fidgeting a little bit. So they're all kind of set up for him, but I don't have anything of him facing the other direction. So I think what I'm going to do is crack on with that, and I'm just going to close these down. I'm not sure what I've done to that walk cycle. It definitely doesn't seem, if I duplicated a frame, I'm not sure what I've done there. I've definitely messed something up. Might have dragged some of the frames back. I'm going to close it and not save it. Just open that up again, see if I have done something weird. He's walking to the right, isn't he? Play on that. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, I don't know what I've done there, but that's now playing correctly. You can see the smooth sway of his arm. Took me quite a while to get that right, so I wanted to make sure I didn't mess that up. But yeah, that's all looking fine. So this front one, what I want to do is create a talking animation, but from behind. With some of these I'm using tags because I kind of got a bit confident with Sprite for exporting them correctly and just having them all in this front facing one for all his different animations. For his back facing animation, to be honest, I might just put it in this same file because I need to kind of take a reference of the size of him from here. So I think we'll just do that. We'll let's create an empty frame after that. Let's move that idle one back to 19 and create a new tag in there. New tag called talk. Let's say from 20 to 25. We haven't got that many frames yet. But what I'm going to do is reuse the bit of animation of him talking from the front. It's just got a couple of head moves on it, and that's all you're going to see from behind. So these two frames where his head's high and low, I'll probably move his arms a little bit, but I'm just going to take a copy of them, copy those frames, paste them into here. and then kind of draw what the back of his head would look like. So he's got these kind of on-ear headphones, like big headphones, and you'll maybe see them beyond his hair, but I'm just going to use this as a reference of where everything is. So let's just block out all the back of his hair. I think we're going to have to put some texture on it. I don't think we'll see his neck because his hair is quite long. Will I see his ears? One of his ears is uncovered, isn't it? Let's have a look. From the front, like that ear's uncovered. We'll maybe have his left ear. Try and work out which way around it is. Have his left ear poking out a little bit. So let's just suggest that here. And again, it's useful drawing over the front-facing one because we know like where everything should be lined up. So I think we'll literally just have a tiny bit of hair poking out like that, and put some detail back in there. And this is the side of his face that's kind of covered by lots of hair, so we'll just make sure we're not going to see any of that there. And the more detail I put on here, I mean, that looks all right like that, I think. So I'm going to move it round a little bit. So his shirt, we'll obviously be looking at the back of his shirt. I don't think we'd see any of the headphones, to be honest. If anything, they might be poking out from under his hair there, but when you look at the front, his hair would probably be covering it all. I don't think you'd really see it. You'd maybe see the band of the headphones. You'd see something going in and gathering his hair like that. But I think that just looks weird. I think we can probably just not include that. So I'll leave a bit of shading where his hair's leaving a shadow there. But he's got a light shirt on. I've just drawn this on his head, haven't I? Yeah, do that all the time. I try and keep these things in layers so that it's easy to manipulate and move them separately, but the amount of times I do that and draw detail onto the wrong layer. So when you do that, marquee select all of the pixels you think you've just done, get the face layer selected, cut them out, go to the shirt layer, paste them back in, and then just turn the face off. Yeah. So on this shirt layer as well, just we can probably delete a load of that. I mean, if you think where his shoulders are, if his shoulders went up like that, you wouldn't be seeing any of the headphones anyway. Turn the face back on. So I'll leave a little bit of a shadow where his armpits are. You obviously won't see his name badge at the back or his tie, so we can just go over all of that, I think. And he's got his shirt tucked in at the back. He doesn't have the bit hanging out. And there'll be no flies at the back. That'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it? So let's pull all that down there. Put a bit of shading where his shirt sits. Maybe just suggest where his bum would be. like that. And we'll maybe just drop this down a bit as well so that it's got more of a bum area there. And of course I've just done exactly what I talked about a second ago, and I've drawn all of that on the shirt layer. So copy that off, paste it onto the legs layer. And this is purely so that you can take them in separate bits if you need to, or I decide later I want to change the colour of his trousers. Not that I'm going to, but if that happens, then at least everything's on separate layers. It's much easier to do your planning and get it organised in the first instance. And again, I think his trousers would come beyond the back of his boots, and we can probably just give those less kind of sideways perspective, so like you stood behind, you wouldn't see as much of that. And similar with the kind of shine, if you like, on his boot, something like that. I think just gives a little bit. I prefer that shape there. It just gives you a little bit of a reference of something brighter. So let's sort his shirt out. I think the whole thing just needs to be this light blue colour. Again, maybe a little bit of darkness by the armpit. I'm not sure. Oh, that's part of the shirt that was untucked before. And of course his phone is in the other hand. So we'll just draw that in on the shirt layer. And if he's holding it in his hand, see his arms are on a separate layer here. Let's put the thing. So you'd be seeing the back of the phone, so you won't see the black screen. Something clicking on my desk. Something heating up. I don't know what that is. So we'll maybe go just a touch darker. It's like we'll bring his fingers down onto it like that. So he's kind of, so it looks like he's holding it. Put some darkness in where his hands are. Just extend this out a bit. Yeah, I think something like that. And then delete the phone from this hand because we're looking at it from behind, so it's all opposite. Yeah, so I think that looks decent. I think his ear's probably too big. We're kind of showing too much of that ear, I think. Yeah, I think it's kind of fun that a bit of his ears showing. I'll open it again. Shirt. One way to stop doing that is just press V and click it. As long as you've got auto select layer, click the layer you're going to edit and then go and get editing. But I forget to do it all the time. Again, we're choosing over 1 or 2 pixels here. Not the end of the world if it's not quite right. I'm just wondering whether this should come all the way down when he's behind, when you're behind him like this. I think that's all right. So you see what I'm going to be able to do is get his head and just have his head move up and down as if he's talking. And we'll probably move his arms a little bit like he's gesticulating with his hands. But yeah, it'll be a fairly small bit of animation for doing his that one in that direction. So that's his front, that's his back. Kind of happy with the height of him and things. His head has got a few pixels lower, but I think that's fine. Kind of looks that way when you see someone's forehead in the back of the head. You're really not going to notice it when he turns around. I haven't actually done like idle sides, like left and right. So when he turns round in Adventure Creator, he won't have a left and right as part of that turn. You'll see when Clive turns round. If I click here, when Clive turns, if he goes upwards, see he does a turn first and then walks. So you see that little side profile. And because he's the main player character, it's kind of important to have those extra details. But with Tyler, it shouldn't, I don't think it'll really be visible, because there's not a huge amount of scenes where you're paying attention to what Tyler's doing. You just see him in the background, like talking to customers and things. And he comes in the office and has a conversation with you and things. So he just walks in, faces you, and then walks out. So I think we'll be covered. So let's create some frames then. I'm just going to highlight all of them, Alt, click and drag. So I've just duplicated those frames exactly as they are. We're going to pull his head down a little bit and do the same thing. Duplicate it across. I'm going to pull his head up 2. So we've got the regular, down 1, up 2. Now up 2 is quite a jump actually. No. Yeah, see it's quite a big, yeah, I don't think we should do that. So we'll do up 1, but we'll move his arms on this one. So again, because I've got his arms separate, I'm just going to grab that and slide it upwards. You can see it's actually in front of the shirt, when from this direction they should be behind the shirt. Oh, we had a few of these. It's because I've got it selected, I think. So let's just put the arms behind the shirt, and that means now when you move them up, they go behind it, or side to side they go behind it. And actually they want to be behind the legs as well. So I'll just sort that out. So on this frame, we're going to grab just that arm, move it up, just 1 like that, I think. Actually, maybe I'll lift them both. Yeah, let's undo that. Let's lift them both up, almost if he's starting a shrug, because that's the kind of thing he would do. He would shrug while he was talking. And then we'll maybe do a little shoulder shrug as well. So we could take the shirt, move the shirt up, and then move the head up to that second thing. So we'll have to see how that looks when he's talking, but let's have one where his arms are moved. So we'll go the lower head state, duplicate that one. Let's take this arm and move it in, and then just skim off a little bit of that shoulder, like he's moved his arms into his body. Let's do the same with the other arm as well. Keep some symmetry there. Make sure that I'm selected. And just again take the shirt and just, whoops, skim off a bit of that. So he's moved his shoulder in. Okay, so we've got a bit of motion going on there. I think that's probably fine. I wonder if I should have put a little crease line down his shirt just for a little bit of extra detail, something like that. Okay, right, I think that's fine. So let's get that exported. Select all of them frames and just do File, Export As, Frames, just the selected frames. You can do that by the tag actually. Talk up, forward, play subtags and repetitions. I think I need to do that. Doing the whole canvas and then create a new file for it. So it's going in my sprites, characters, Tyler, and it's Tyler talk up. Right, so we've got that. Let's get that over into Unity. And then we can test it out in this scene. So let's go to sprites where we just got that from Tyler talk up. That is not what I wanted to do. I haven't done him as a sprite sheet. Exported him incorrectly there. So file, export sprite sheet. That's what I should have done. By rows, talk up. Layers, visible layers. What have I done? Let me just close that. I don't understand what's going on. Something strange going on. So all of those frames, export sprite sheet. So you can see the sprite sheet that it's about to create there. Talk up, but you can see it's only creating one frame, which is strange. Why is it doing that? So it's all layers, just those frames. I'll do selected frames. That's strange. Oh, maybe I've not. Have I messed up the tag? Yes, I have. See, the tag's only doing this one frame. I typed it in before I made the frames, didn't I? So 26. Yeah, so the bracket of that hadn't covered the whole set of frames. Right. Know what we're doing now. Export the sprite sheet. Talk up. Yeah, that looks better. Export that. So Tyler talk up. Save over that. Done. I don't know why it keeps doing that with the give that a save. I'm going to close a sprite. It's doing something weird. I'll open it back up. Yeah, the UI had gone a bit funny there. Anyway, there we are. So yeah, now we can see it's actually a sprite sheet. It's got those 5 frames in it. So this talk up one, we want to turn that into an animation clip. Its default sprite import is a single sprite, so we need to change that. I've got this template that you see me use every week pretty much. Sprite sheet sliced template, apply that, go to the sprite editor and just check that we're actually slicing it into 32 by 64 slices, as in 32 pixels by 64, which is the character size. Apply that, all good. And then that's going to generate 5 frames. So you can see those 5 frames there as sprites. So we select all of them, right click, create animation clip. I'm just going to name that Tyler Talk Up. Okay, so we just need to get his animator controller, which this is him, NPC Tyler controller, it says there, just under my video feed there. So he'll have a talk up action ready, but it doesn't have an animation clip in it. So I'm just going to drag that in there, talk up. Also make sure on talk up that it's set to loop. If you want, you can offset the cycle by frame. Does it offset every time? Can't remember now. But if we look at this, the actual animation is just those 5 frames. And we kind of don't want it to be that because it's just going to then, well, it's going to play back exactly how it plays back here, which will probably look a bit weird. Just going to be bouncing up and down like that. And it's quite rhythmic and there's a pattern and everything, so we want it to kind of be random. I've mentioned this before, it would be great in Unity if there was a switch here saying just play random frames, but what I end up doing is just copying some of these, pasting them somewhere else, copy, paste, copy, paste one of them there, copy that one, paste it there. So I'm just picking random frames. It doesn't matter if there's any doubles or anything like that. You can even space them out a bit so some frames last a little bit longer than other ones. Just so we break it up a little bit. So that is that animation clip that is associated with talk up there. So if we just go to our little cutscene here, he walks off to a point. Don't even need to have him walking. Let's make sure we've reset him to idle. Wait 2 seconds and then just have him talk. So let's do dialogue, play speech. The speaker is Tyler. Hello. Oops. I finally have a upwards talk. So what we need to make sure is facing up. So just do a character face direction. Character to turn is Tyler. Face him up. I won't put his instant because then that would just immediately make him face up. I'm just wondering whether he will turn at all. I don't think he will because I haven't put any idle like things, but if I go wait until finish and he's going to wait 2 seconds. Actually no, let's just do this the other way around, just so I get to see that. So he's going to wait for 2 seconds, then he's going to face up, and then he's going to say that. So let's just have a little look at that to see how that works. Not going to be able to see him actually because I think Clive's in the way. Oh no, there he is. Waits 2 seconds, faces up. There we go. And he's talking a bit there. And you can see there is definitely a loop in that. Du-du-dun, du-du-dun, du-du-dun. But other than making those frames even more random, then there's not much else you can do about that. So he did just immediately flick to upwards because we don't have those sideways idles. Let's take an idle left and an idle right there that we could associate some motion with. I mean, we could just snap a frame out of something, couldn't we? Let's do that. So let's just create some sideways idles for him. So let's get his walk left. So that one where he's at the left hand side like that. And then let's get his walk right. Looking for the air sprite version. Find the one where his legs pass, like that one, and then we can just rub out the back leg, basically. And that'll just give us some motion when he turns. So the easiest way to copy these out, because there's obviously a lot more frames here, I'll just do a full marquee select of the whole thing. And just do all the frames, copy that, go to this one, we're going to create a new empty frame there, make sure this doesn't extend beyond there. 24, isn't it? Look what that said. Create a new tag there. New tag. Idle. Which way was he facing? Left. And just paste into there. That's Clive. Where's he come from? Let's go back to the idle left. Select all of those frames. Select all. Copy. Go to Tyler front. Go there. Paste. Why am I only getting his arm? Can you not? You must be able to select all of the frames. Is there like a copy merged? That's what we want to do, really. Copy merge. There you go. Control Shift and C. Go to there. Paste. So that is the UI doesn't ever update until you move away from it and then move back, which is a bit of a pain. But yeah, they're all squashed onto one layer there. It's just that idle sideways bit. You can also see that he's considerably higher there than his standing one, which is a bit of a problem. It just might look weird when he turns. It's because he's at the height of his walk cycle. He's stood up on one leg. So he kind of pops up in the air. Some animation basic stuff here. So he kind of needs to be a little bit lower as well if this is going to look right. So we could just squish him a little bit. So now he's the same height. And then just rub out this leg behind. I mean, we could just paint in a bit there as if he's got a leg and an extra foot back there. Just delete all of this. I don't plan to ever have him stood animated idle to the side. This is purely so that the spin and his turns just look a little bit more complete. So that's his side one to the left. We'll do one to the right as well. So just duplicate that. New tag. Idle right. Oh, that looks like a sub tag. Didn't even know you could do that. New tag. 26, 26. It's because that one probably goes to 26. Oh no, it's 25. 25 to 20. Oh, maybe it's just because they're side by side and you can't read them properly. We'll find out in a minute. I think as well, I can probably move him back a pixel. Yeah, so that way, and then idle right. Control Shift and C to copy merged. The front, delete that one, paste that in, squish him down by a couple of pixels. Still a little bit high. Squish him down a bit more. Yeah, so there's his back. Right. Yeah. Let's move him back a touch just to get him closer to the centre line where it's actually, no, his leg's probably better where he was. And then just clean up this leg. Suggest a leg there. Delete his knee. Just fill in where that other foot would be if it's planted on the floor. Clean up all of that. I think that's the back of his other foot. I left that in on the other side, didn't I? Yeah, let's delete that. So he's got a nice flat heel. Okay. So we've got an idle left and an idle right. Just going to help us when he spins round. So what I'll do is I'll just export those two as a separate sprite sheet and just go, is this the best way to do it? Thinking of how I'm going to import them. Yeah, let's do it this way. Export selected frames. So we've just got his left and right frame there. Visible layers. All of that's fine. Let's go and save this as Tyler idle LR, because it's left and right. Save that. And then let's get back to Unity. There's the left and right. Multi-frame sprite sheet. Got the editor, we've definitely got 2 frames there, which is great. Click apply. So these 2 frames, we're going to turn them into separate animation clips. A couple of different ways to do it. The way you've seen me doing it is by highlighting all the frames, right clicking. I think you can, if you've got more than one sprite selected and you drag it into here, it prompts you to create an animation clip. And that's where a lot of them have been going, but I always forget to put them there. So if I call this Tyler idle right, and bear with me, I'm going to do a right and a left as 2 separate anim clips. So there's Tyler idle right. Sorry, we'll create it there in my anim clips. Tyler idle right. If I go into that animation, it's got those 2 frames, and the first one was left and the second one was right. So I'm going to delete the first one because that was left. No, not before I do that. I'm going to take this Tyler idle right animation clip. I'm going to duplicate it and call it Tyler idle left. And then with the left one selected, delete the second frame, so it's just that left facing one, and with the right one, delete the first frame, drag that back to frame 1. So there we've got single frame animation clips basically. So in the animator controller for Tyler, let's find him. It's always a bit of a mess, this, to be honest. I don't know if I created the mess or whether it's just the default place that things go. But in prefabs, Tyler. So this is now showing a controller for something else. I created an animator controller. When you drag it into the hierarchy to create an animation clip, it also creates an animator controller, which is crap. So there, so that's a new animator controller. We just delete that. It is not required because the animator controller is actually on Tyler here. It should be. What have I just done? What is going on? I just deleted Hmm. Might have just deleted Tyler's animator controller. No, there it is. It's called NPC Tyler. That is strange. Yes, the other one, I don't know where that is. Let's see, NPC Tyler. Yeah, it's put it in a very strange place. It does it, I mean, it creates them, I think, in the root of the project folder. Yeah, that's the project folder. Flaws was what I originally called the game before I knew what it was going to be called. And yeah, when I created the Adventure Creator project, that is the project folder. So by default, it seems to dump the animator controllers in there. I could probably do with cleaning all this up, actually, because it is getting to the stage now where it's getting quite complicated. There's quite a lot of things. Yeah, maybe I should do that and have like a animator controllers folder. Shall I just do that now? Let's do it. So my anim controllers. I usually put the word my, put it inside that folder. I don't want it in there. I want it in assets. So my anim controllers, and then I'm going to do a search for. Oh, you can't filter by animator controllers. You can filter by animation clips, but that's no use. Well, I didn't know that. There's another issue. Not missing one there, no. By tags, can you do animated, animation, animal? Seems not. Well, that's frustrating, isn't it? I thought there was going to be an easy clear up where it's filtered by animator controllers. I mean, some of them will be called controller. But some of them are definitely not. This is where I break all the links to things, isn't it? What are these? Set geometry, reach. Oh, these are the animator controllers it's automatically created for things. That's the big tree on the introduction. This is the dog peeing. So let's just grab all of these. LED light pulse, the phone. Let's drag all of them into there. I'm hoping that it references these correctly and I haven't just broken a load of stuff. There's like a drip anim there. I'm literally just looking for the little icon that looks like the others. I think as well, while we're here tidying this up, and some of these, all these brain ones are the character from the tutorials that you get with Adventure Creator. So there's loads of assets in here that need to be deleted out of the project. I've just never got round to it. And it's sometimes useful having them there when you kind of look back at some of the tutorials just to remind yourself how something works. But yeah, there's a huge amount of animation clips. So a lot of these are not mine. But it's maybe something I'm just gonna have to sort out in my own time, I think. That should be a little bit easier to find the animator controllers now. Don't panic anymore. So it's not actually there, the one I was looking for. It was Tyler. So Tyler, NPC Tyler there. NPC Fish Kite. All of them need to go in there. So back to what we were doing, NPC Tyler, a segue there. It wouldn't be a live stream without a random segue. Is idle left and right are what we want to assign something for. So we had that Tyler idle left, and then idle right. I've got Tyler idle right, and if you remember, they're just single frame ones. But what we should notice now, just go and make sure we've got time to see it. When he faces up, he's then going to talk. Let's copy that, paste it here. He's going to do his little talk, and then let's have him face right, and then just wait for 2 seconds, and then have him face left. No, I'll just have him face down. Oops, delete that. And then have him face up. I keep doing that. So we should see when he faces up, he spins through the left or through the right, depending on which way it winds in here. But yeah, we should see him moving about, and hopefully those left and rights are just going to fill in some of that jumpiness. So there he is facing forwards. He's gone to facing up. He's facing the right for a bit, facing down. I didn't see him face left, oh, probably because he comes round this way. But if I get him to walk, we have a right mishmash of things there. Oh, it was in play mode. I didn't realise it was bright green. Stick that to there. Stick that to there. Because he definitely looks weird to me when he stands to the side, the shape of him. But there, see, when he's set off there, yeah, so he's at least got much smoother transitions between the directions that he goes now. So he doesn't immediately just flick to them. So that's good. At least that's one thing off my list that I wanted to get done. Right, what else? Oh, that was it. I noticed just before I started the stream, the intro exterior, that's this shot here, which, just as a reminder, let's just put this in full screen. This is the establishing shot for the game. It's going to have a voiceover on it and music and things, so it fades in and you see we're in a small industrial estate, and here's the Floor For You shop. You can now see in the door, little dog comes and wheezes on the side of the shop, just showing disrespect for the whole thing. I've updated a bit of those graphics there, so I need to bring them in as well. And again, this is because I was away at the weekend, wasn't at this PC, and just had my laptop with me, so I was doing some Sprite work on my laptop. So this was the exterior. So I've just added a little bit of detail. I've got kind of like a no smoking sign, some posters on there. Just added some detail of the trees and things in the background, a bit of texture to them, some graffiti down the side, a bit of sick by the bin. Just because I was just sat with the laptop on my knee, I was just adding some bits and pieces. This a bit of a kind of dithered fade to the roof, to the sky. So that just needs re-importing. So let's export it from here. So export as, the whole canvas, just the first frame. Yeah, I think that's going to the right place. Export, yes. There's no layers. I mean, there's a big tree that sits in front of it, but that should update. There we go. Sorry, flash there. There's like a little shutter on there as well now. And I'll just play that back again and make sure that there isn't anything weird or overlapped. It's gone strange. Oh, that all looks nice. And the dog sprite doesn't do anything weird with that graffiti or anything now. Okay, cool. Great, so we've got that in. That was one thing that was on the list that needed doing. What else? Oh, it's probably worth showing a little bit of this alarm puzzle that I set up. So it's a scene from later on in the game where you need to put in a code to this alarm box. And I wasn't quite sure how to go about doing it with Adventure Creator. I've got some skills in C# coding, and I kind of wanted to do a few things with it that I just thought it's going to take quite a while with the actions in Adventure Creator, so I needed to come up with a way of being able to just code some of it that wouldn't rely on just the actions in Adventure Creator. So a couple of things that I wanted to do, I wanted to be able to switch between two different modes. So one's like a UI element that sits over this graphic. There's a thing to go back to the storeroom because this alarm box is in the storeroom. I wanted to be able to change between two different modes. So it starts with select mode. Oh, you might hear a really loud, I've got some placeholder sounds in there as well. I'll just turn that down. So you can switch between admin mode and alarm mode. Triggers a little bit of a sound each time. And you can see there's a key press as well when you press the buttons and the code gets put in. When you get beyond 6 digits, it resets. And I kind of need to put a little sound in there where it resets. If you put in a number and submit it, it says denied and then goes back to the mode that you're in. There's like a clear function, so there's quite a few different things going on. There is a correct code, which I'm not going to reveal as a spoiler, and it responds when the correct code comes in. It changes the text on here and things, and then it triggers another piece of animation in the game, and you successfully uncover something. So all of that, I kind of started thinking that I wanted to try and do it all with the actions, but it wasn't kind of, it was just more trouble, I think, than it should have been. I should have thought about actually whether the alarm box, no, don't want to fiddle with that. It's being managed by head office. So there's a lot of logic to do with when you're allowed to use the alarm box, because it's only later in the game that you realise you need to. But that logic of the buttons, the pressing, the code and all of that kind of thing, I ended up deciding just to write a custom script for it. So a big part of trying to work out how best to do it was that I knew I needed to trigger some Adventure Creator actions that I'd created. So there was these different actions here to do different things on screen depending if they've got it set to the wrong mode, like admin or alarm, to check the number they've put in to see whether it's right or not. And all of those things could have all been done in C#, but there was other things that I wanted to do at the same time, because I wanted to change some bits of text in the UI. I wanted to add the sound playing through here as well. What else did I do? Yeah, some of the UI changes depending on the mode. So all of that was going to be done through the Adventure Creator actions. So it was kind of a combination of Adventure Creator actions and stuff just in C#. So I wrote this little C# script, had a little look on the forums about how to do this and found it was really, really powerful. So what I might do is do a separate tutorial just about this type of puzzle where you want to write some custom code but actually interrogate global variables and local variables within Adventure Creator and trigger action lists from Adventure Creator. And it was, I guess, more straightforward than I expected it to be. You just import the Adventure Creator namespace there, and then you get access to things like action lists, which you can set. If you set them up as public variables, you can then just drag action lists from here into it to trigger them, and then you can access individual properties on the namespace. So basically the local variables, you can grab local variables and you can set the values of those variables all just through C#. So yeah, combination of all that meant that I could build out the logic for a full kind of numeric puzzle with different actions for clearing and submitting and different responses and things like that. So it's kind of driven a little bit with C#, just a small script, and then some of it back through Adventure Creator. So if you're interested in a tutorial on that kind of thing, then just drop a comment in, yeah, and ask away, and I'll maybe set up a tutorial to do that. Okay, so yeah, it was worth having a chat about that because you might see some of this on some of the other live streams, and you'll certainly see it in the game when the game is complete. So another thing that I have got onto is my note here says blokes in masks. A big part of the reveal of the I guess what's been swept under the carpet, the namesake of the game, is this kind of cult-like group of carpet lovers. One character of which you've probably seen on some of the other live streams, a guy with the fish tank who's taking his fish bowl. He's taking his fish for a walk when he comes into the store and asks for a piece of vintage carpet, brings a vintage carpet sample with him. Him and some other elderly gentlemen are part of this covenant of carpet, if you like. The custodians of carpet and the protectors of the weave, all very silly. But there is a bit where they kind of reveal themselves much later on in the game. So I was starting to animate, again, just because I only had Sprite with me on my laptop, I was starting to animate those like reveals, if you like, the other day. And I've still haven't designed the other characters that are part of that carpet. God, that scared the life out of me. Massive beep there. Hi there, Chris. My speakers are really, really loud. And I don't know if you heard that down the mic, but chat message. Good evening. It's not Sunday. Don't panic, because I keep thinking it is, but it isn't. It's definitely Tuesday. Nice to see you, Chris. Thank you for joining the stream. So yeah, I was just saying there, so those characters need to be designed like a group of old fellas, basically. But I had this fish tank guy, he's called. That's just what I named him at the time. What am I doing? Characters, customers, fish tank guy. So yeah, he's got a whole set of idle animations and things here, because you've kind of seen him looking around. Oh, he's got his fish bowl as well there. So this is the original character where you see him in the shop, and later on you see him in a different location, but he's got his talking animations. So this is the thing I was doing. The custodians of carpet all wear a carpet sample on their head with eye holes cut in, of course, because that's what these kind of people would do to disguise their identities. So it's just a piece of cream shag pile wrapped around the face and tied with 2 eye holes cut in, because of course that is a fantastic disguise for people who are really into carpet. So I just started animating when I was sat on possibly Easter Sunday eating Easter eggs, and just starting this bit of animation where like he pushes back the thing onto the top of his head. So that kind of, I got about that far with that particular bit of animation, just doing his arms and like the lift of the thing back. You see one of these full outfits at a point in the game, kind of further on. So there's one here with the shawl of shag as well, which is made entirely of carpet samples, and this is to be worn by the leader of the cult. So this is him removing his mask, which kind of needs to be finished off at some point as well. So that was one of the other things I was on with. I could continue on with that and get that done, but one of the big things on my list, and I think something which is useful to talk about on these streams, is something a bit more boring than a carpet mask, is testing. And I said this at the start of this process, what, 7 months ago or something. There was going to be a part of this journey to getting a completed game that would be a huge amount of bug testing, and that kind of started the other day. I think, yeah, on Monday, yesterday, because I wasn't at work, I started setting up some bug testing routines, if you like, or setting up some systems, an Excel sheet or a Google Sheets sheet, to keep track of the bugs and start working through the game from start to finish, and picking up all the problems. And it's amazing just how many there are, especially as some of these bits of the game haven't been worked on for months and months, and I come back to them and go, what have I done there? And I've also made decisions later on, like when I started using the global events manager to check for cutscenes. There's things I've done manually in a lot of cutscenes that I'm not doing manually anymore, so some of those things needed fixed. But basically, in a nutshell, there's absolutely loads of bugs and issues that need sorting out. And I guess my advice to everybody, because I've learnt it over the years of doing these kind of things, is this is the bit that becomes soul destroying, because you're going back through old work and it's kind of no fun, and it's not particularly creative. It is often just like a huge list of things you've messed up, or things that have got so complicated you don't know how to fix them. And rather than getting caught up with kind of one at a time, I like to keep a register of the bugs, how severe they are and things like that. So I'll show you a bit of that. Apologies, the sore throat, too much chocolate and beer. So what I've started doing is I have here this testing sheet. It's nothing particularly special. I just created it in Google Sheets on my OneDrive, on my Google Drive, so I can access it from anywhere. I've got a little data page here which has got a list of all the scenes, just as a named range. So I can't remember what it was called. Scene list, it's just a named range called scene list. There's a named range which is the progress of fixing something, and then the type of bug that it is. They're just used in these lookups, these little drop-down lookups. And it's just to make my life a bit easier, because at the moment, whilst there's only 9 things listed on here, this is going to end up becoming a huge list. And just having some way of logging them all, making notes about them, so you can just kind of do a few on an evening and then make some notes about where you're at, tick them off. There's also something psychologically helpful about having a green one that says done, and it's like, yes, it was a severe issue because the inventory button wasn't there when you came out of the PC screen, but I fixed it now, so you get this nice list of done and everything. And then of course, because it's a spreadsheet, you can just filter them all, and you'll start to see that they all get done. Some of them haven't been started. Some of them might end up getting stuck where I don't know how to fix it, so I can just leave it and then I can come back to it another time. So there's a lot of these are going to be cropping up. One of the other things that I've kind of remembered only yesterday when I was doing this is just how time consuming like doing playthroughs is. So another couple of tips with that. Let's just go to Unity and load my first scene, which is this one. It's set up at the moment so that all of my variables that control kind of what the player has achieved so far in the game, they're all set to what they should be at the start of a playthrough. So we're currently in Act 1. We haven't played the intro. We're not triggering any of these cutscenes yet. We haven't started any of the puzzles. There's loads of things here that are all set to like the state of the game at the very, very start. What you can do, which is a really nice feature, but I struggle with it a little bit, is now that these are all set like that, you can basically create a template, like a preset they call it here, so it says ignore presets. So you can create a variable preset here, and you could call that like start of the game. I've got one here called start game with intro. And then you can toggle one of those presets on to immediately change a load of different variables in one click, or you can set the game to start with that particular preset. The problem I think I've got with it is that what I would like to be able to do is from a state, and maybe you can, from a state where you've got all of these, is to create a preset from its current state. What you've got to do is a preset basically creates an empty holder for the value of a particular variable. So that I've got these three presets which I set up ages ago actually when I was trying to test some other things. And kind of what you've got to do is for every variable you've got to set that variable's value for each of those presets. And I don't know if there's a better way of doing that, but it kind of seems backwards to me. It maybe isn't, but it means going through every one of these and saying like, when we're doing the start game with intro, this should be set to false. When we're doing start game with intro, this should be set to false. When we're doing, maybe it is the only way of doing it, but it seems a bit convoluted to me. The point I'm getting at is this is all set up for a playthrough from the start, so I can literally hit play and the game will start. I haven't got any title screen or anything yet. It'll start in this mode. I'm then just watching it, thinking, right, everything look all right, the timing look okay, dog pisses at the right time, fades out. I did some of this on the live stream the other day, just getting that timing right, fades into the shop. Clive is hoovering, that's great, good. That is a placeholder for the narration to remind me that there's meant to be narration there. Puts the hoover down, starts talking. When I ran this through the other day, there was issues already. There was like the inventory button was up there, so I had to hide that. I had to do some of those fixes. He now talks a bit about the pigeon, so I've added some of that in. He then sets off talking about the laminate lights. So this is kind of a playthrough. There's obviously things like sound and music and voiceover to do and things like that, but this is me just checking the pacing, Also, I am looking at spelling, but you can actually export all of the dialogue into a text file and then do spell check on that and then re-import it again, so that's sometimes easier. So I'm just looking, like these things I've added this in, like where's Tyler when you need him? He's always running late. What's the point of a store assistant when he's hardly ever here to assist? So that introduces Tyler, because I was having some problems later down the line where he would mention something about Tyler. It's like I haven't introduced Tyler to the players, so I'm kind of trying to look at it as a player. And then he sets up the first puzzle, and we fade out the black bars. You get your inventory button. I've emptied the inventory. Still need to do something nicer with this UI. This is all default UI, but yeah, might have a carrier bag pop up or something. But so all of that gets us to this position. It reminded me that I never made any hotspots for anything in here. So in these first acts, you can't click on anything, and obviously I'm going to want to do that. So in that example, I've realised straight away there's something wrong. So I come to my sheet, I basically select it's in the shop floor. What is the severity rating? It's a quality issue, that it's not continuity. It isn't like a knock-on effect of something else. It's not severe. It's not going to break the game. It's not going to cause a problem you can't get out of or something like that. So I'm just going to put quality in there, because then that tells me whether that's just a quality thing that I need to improve. And then I've got this little note like, when is this in the story? And I'll just put here throughout shop floor scenes, because it doesn't matter which one it's in. I haven't done it. The issue is there's no exciting hot spots to click on for the player. So the resolution, need to create all shop hotspots. And then I just a little note, because I thought about this while I was walking the dogs the other day. I've got two versions of the shop floor. Shop floor in the first act and shop floor in act 2, because there was so many different variables going on in that same room. It just made it easier to have a completely different version of the shop floor for act 2. So when I create all of those hotspots, I'm going to need to have probably all those hotspots in the act 2 version. So my resolution here is need to create all shop hotspots, ideally in a prefab, so it can be shared between Act 1 and 2 versions. So I try and write myself a decent note. I can set that to not started, because I'm not fixing it at the moment. I'm just going to carry on with my playthrough. That I can go back to these a day, a week later, and it will make sense to me, because it's just soul destroying getting to a point in the game, finding a problem like that, stopping, going off and fixing it. You kind of want to see them all and want to be able to pick and choose certain days depending on what mood you're in as to which ones you're going to fix. If you're just going to do like a lot of quality ones, some continuity ones, something that's a bit more tricky in the morning when you're awake, a cup of coffee to get that thing done, leave some of the harder ones for the next day or whatever. So at least I get to rate them all in that thing. So I'm heading off to get the light bulbs here. I think I did some little things. If someone looks at them, the bulbs haven't failed, they're actually missing. Who would steal 2 bulbs? I need to find the replacement. So it just reiterates that bit. Doesn't matter which one you click on, it does the same. Hoover's got a little hotspot, I think. Succomatic. So obviously when this is filled with stuff, people are going to want to click on Larry the Lino Lizard and the samples. We need funny dialogue for all of this. The plant that comes into play later on needs some dialogue associated with it, because it's a point and click adventure game, so people are going to want to click things. There's lots of nice things to click, and those things help to give players an idea of what Clive's like as a person. They set the humour for the game, the tone and things like that, so it does need to be full of things. And they head off into the office. Now purposefully, this massive green post-it note, this was by design, that they kind of have to walk past all this stuff in the office to get to the storeroom. So they know they're looking for some light bulbs. A new player's like, oh, there's loads of stuff to click in here as well. And I did do quite a few of these: filing cabinet, whiteboard, the PC, the mug, like the plant, the carpet tear. There's loads of things to click on in here. So just by moving your cursor across it, it's like, oh, I want to click on loads of things. But they're heading to the store. And this is one of the hardest bits of play testing. And it's why I'm going to call upon people like yourself, Chris, and Kyle, and others who have been around for lots of live streams. If anybody wants to do some game testing for me, I will be hugely appreciative as I try and get Act 1 like cleaned up to the point where I think I've found all the bugs. I kind of need to put it in the hands of other people and see how they do it, because I have no idea whether someone's going to go, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the kitchen. I want to go to the kitchen first. And I noticed this the other day whilst in the kitchen. I fiddled with the kettle and the kettle plug, and basically that would be great, Chris, if you do, if you don't mind doing some game testing at some point. Don't know when I get to a position when I've got most of the big bugs ironed out and all the game breaking ones. And what I'll do, incidentally, for anyone who wants to play test, I'll basically give you a version of this. I'll send you a link to this with an ID number on it or something, so I can collect them in from a few different people and just work through this kind of thing. You don't have to write the resolution bit, but just describe the issue, when it happened, like how severe it was. Was it just something you think is like a continuity issue, something wasn't mentioned? Or is it severe as in I can't pick something up now, or I can't complete this puzzle because that thing isn't available? So yeah, it'll be a matter of giving you a build of the game and yeah, a sheet like that to fill in, really. But yeah, getting back to my issue that I found, I was able to click on this kettle lead, which is part of a later puzzle. And actually just in clicking that and picking it up, or trying to pick it up, it triggers a different cutscene which sends you to the front door to collect the delivery, completely taking the person off the track of going to get the light bulbs. And I think I made a note of it here, and it was like, oh no. Like, did I make a note of it yet? I haven't made a note of it yet. This is it, yeah. So severe problem, picking up the kettle cable triggers a delivery arrival. If a player started on the PC plug puzzle before getting the light bulbs, is this okay? Like a question to myself. And then what do I need to do? I need to play it back through, and after the delivery conversation, Clive then returns to the last puzzle, but what does he say? And in the dialogue, he actually says, I was trying to fix the PC when you rang, because you are, if you're getting the kettle lead cable. So long story short, I've kind of tied myself in a couple of little loops because I don't know which way a player's going to try and solve this. What I could do is put some, what I'd call like invisible walls in the way, and within the dialogue and within the puzzles, stop them from moving one puzzle on until they've moved the other one on. So that would be relatively easy to do, but it also removes some of that, the beauty of some of these point and click adventure games where you can be working on two puzzles at the same time. So I was aware that this was going to happen. So in here in Act 1, what have we got? So I need to find 2 replacement bulbs. So this is the 2 branches. So you go to the store cupboard, get the box of spare bulbs, and you fix the laminate display lights, and then you spot a tiny key on the floor, and that takes you to a point. That tiny key can be used later. So you have to have completed the fixing the laminate display lights in order to get out of this act. But I made this red because it's kind of walking through the office. You notice that a post-it board, it's not on the pin board, This is now the post-it note that's on the screen, and the PC won't turn on, and then you've got to get the kettle lead and all of that. So triggering the delivery driver. So all of this gets quite complicated, and I'm not sure, of course, which way a player's going to do it. I'm not sure whether I should limit their progression through this PC puzzle until they've got the light bulbs. But either way, what most people would probably do, oh, and I've also, to help my testing, I've got these lights turned off, so I don't have to click that switch every time I come through. So the box of bulbs is in here. These other boxes, I put some extra boxes in there now, neatly labelled boxes, no light bulbs. Neatly packed box, it says carpet tape rolls, no light bulbs here. So he's, I haven't made any of these clickable. They come into play later on. I just wanted to give the player a bit of a break rather than having them all, because there's a bit later where you have to check them all. So you go at the box of bulbs and grab a couple of them. You're like, unbelievable, the first two I picked up are exactly the right type. So you see them go in the inventory. That never happens. Thinking of moving the inventory down to the bottom. I thought about this the other day. I might have it pop up at the bottom because there's usually less going on at the bottom because of these like black highlights. But yeah, I thought about it the other day. And then sometimes what happens is when I'm just doing that natural playthrough, I'll suddenly think to myself, oh God, if I click this fake plant, I wonder if I've remembered to say something funny about the plant that is unrelated to the plant puzzle later. So I'll just click it and check. Yeah, it's a company issue, fake plastic plant. All the joys of real plant with any of the messy watering. Right, so yeah, it's nondescript, it's a funny thing, and it's got nothing to do with the puzzle later. So go me, I have already done that by the looks of it. There are things in here like this power cable, which is part of the power cable puzzle later. If I click it, it will get it. That could come in handy. So you've kind of got it in your inventory. I think I'm fine with that. It's sometimes nice in an adventure game where you've already got something that you need later on. I could hide it for now and only make it available later, but I sometimes think that's a bit of a cop-out. When you as a player have seen something that's useful, like this elastic band, and you couldn't click it earlier and now you can. I like people being able to collect things, because then it's a really thick elastic band. That could be really handy. So he doesn't mention at the moment that it's to do with a slingshot that you've got to create later. So these are all things that end up in your inventory for later. And this is what I imagine people would do when they're in here, like clicking on things. They're like, oh, we'll go and set off the alarm. Don't we fill in with that? It's managed by head office. So some things are not clickable, it will become clickable later. There's, yeah, they shouldn't be clickable actually, those plastic straps. So I want to make a point of removing them. So I'll just put a note there that in the storeroom, it is a severe problem. Because it's related to a much later bit of the story, so you don't want people revealing that straight away. So first time in storeroom is when it's happening. Issue, plastic straps are visible hotspot before they come into play. So the resolution, what I'm going to have to do is tie hotspot visibility to variable of boxes puzzle. Yeah, so that is not started. So this is the process. You are seeing it live, and I wasn't joking at the on the introduction video I did for this channel like 7 months ago. There's going to be bugs. I think there was even a bit where I put bugs all down the screen. There will be, and there will be in all of your games. And becomes really challenging because you don't get... It is kind of rewarding, I guess, when you get them fixed, but quite frequently you'll fix one and it will cause some other problem, or it'll make you realise, oh no, I've got an impossible loop in your like logic in the game, which you then need to rewrite something for. What was that, Chris? Can you set your puzzle to check whether the player's completed another puzzle before it appears? Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you can, and I kind of do that throughout, but it becomes quite like a chain of things that get tested. So I'll just pause this for a second. So the way I try and manage some of this in variables, I have these variables called, I call them puzzle underscore, and it's a particular, yeah, got a particular name. I try and set them all up like this. They're of type pop-up, it's called, a pop-up variable. And what it means is you can set these different values. So rather than just having like an integer, like is puzzle, what is it? Puzzle light bulbs 0, 1, 2 or 3, you can set a human readable value. So all of my puzzles that involve a few steps have like not started as their first state, and then when I set it to that, they know, the player knows that they need 2 bulbs, and once they've got the 2 bulbs in their inventory, I set it to got 2 bulbs, and then once they've fitted the bulbs, I've got a complete bulbs fitted, and then I can check that variable, as you said, Chris, in another puzzle, and say, is the variable puzzle light bulbs complete, effectively? You could have just a Boolean that's, is puzzles complete, true or false, and that is really helpful sometimes, actually. But where they've got stages where you've got to collect multiple things, I tend to set them up like that. And then in certain circumstances where you reach a particular milestone in the game, like Act 2, I've then got like a variable which is current act, and things like that, where you can just check that one thing, and if you're confident that you can only get through to that bit and all of those other puzzles before now don't matter, basically if you set that to Act 2, the point at which you've set that, you'll be super confident that everything was done correctly. You could, by way of bug testing, set up a little action and have a real thing with a piece of paper or your flowchart and go, actually, by the time they start Act 2, they should have this, this, and this in their inventory. They should have completed this puzzle, and this puzzle. They should know about this thing, and just list it all out on a bit of paper, if that's easier, and then create an action which checks all of those things. And if they're not all done by the point at which you want to start on Act 2, then just flag something up in the console in Unity. So then when you do a playthrough and you get there, it's just doing a little check for you, and it's like, oh, they haven't got that in their inventory. You could even flash it up on screen if you wanted to in a little UI. So then again, if you were giving it to other people at playtest, it would just be a little debug panel saying, oh, you need this item, and this item. Go and get them, or whatever. Bad programming or bad design, if you like, if you get to that stage, but it is just another, I guess, tool in the arsenal of getting through the testing phase. But back to my point about like doing this type of walkthrough, there's something I'd forgotten about, which is incredibly powerful and really, really useful, especially when you're dealing with, I mean, this is I guess a relatively short game compared to many point and click games. It's like no Monkey Island or Full Throttle or anything like that. This is small in comparison, but there are so many things happening in the scenes at different times for that narrative to allow you to revisit scenes, and then things have changed and new things are available and you've got to use other items that are in there. It becomes really difficult knowing where to start, even with this like the bulk assign thing, where you can basically select one of them presets I talked about earlier and mid playthrough bulk assign them all to different values. So with a single click you can like go PC ready to log in, click bulk assign, then all the right variables that need to be in place for the PC ready to be logged in will be set, so you can play it from that point. That's all well and good, but it doesn't really give you full confidence that that all those variables have been set in the correct way that makes sense for a player. So getting to the point, the other tool that is incredibly useful is the save system. So I'm in here, I've now got the light bulbs, I've also got the desk fan and the elastic band. I'm going to leave the inventory open. I don't know if it lets you actually. It does. Brilliant. Press escape, and this is standard behavior for Adventure Creator. There should be a save option, and when you click on save and choose a new save, I'll come to this layout in a second because this is not the default. I've changed this. You can create a save here. It'll take a screenshot because I'm using a template that Chris from Adventure Creator has made available to people, where it saves a screenshot along with a timestamp. So I'm going to create a save here. That game is now saved at that point in time. So it sounds stupid because that's what saving a game does, but all of the variables, all of the things that we have, I guess, organically done as we've come through here are saved at this point in time. So if I go back and load the game, you can see it's got a screenshot there, it's got the timestamp, and then you can load that to continue your playthrough from here. So if you're confident you've kind of done everything up to that stage, save, and then you can reload it, maybe go and fix some bugs, come back to that particular point again. So really, really powerful. The default save thing hasn't got screenshots. So if you're wanting to, I'm not going to click quit there actually. I want to continue from that bit and just check another bug that I noticed earlier. If you're wanting to have your save thing set up like that, if you go to the downloads area of the Adventure Creator website, there's a load of useful little tutorials and little puzzle templates and things like that that can help you out, and some third-party integration stuff. There is this one here, UI template, save game screenshots. If you download that, it will just download your little Unity package. You can double click that while you've got your project open and it will install it for you. There's a really simple README that comes with it there. And you ultimately go, it tells you exactly where to go in your game structure, highlight this template, save game screenshots, and then click apply. And it's as simple as that. I'll pause this. So it ends up in this folder here. It's a folder called downloads. No idea where it went. Downloads. Where is that? Downloads. There, Adventure Creator, downloads. This save game screenshots. Cheers, Chris. Thanks for dropping in. Take care. I will hopefully be back on next Sunday. Hopefully. If not, I'll be on at some point. Yeah, cheers for popping along. So this template save game screenshots is what you download. You literally highlight it, click apply when you're not in play mode, and it will install that little template so that you get screenshots with your save games. And then just up in settings as well, there's some settings there for the maximum number of save files you can have, the file name, whether it orders them by date and things like that. So yeah, you can get the same like load and save UI that I've got there, which is helpful for testing, which is what that was all about. What you might notice, because I can see it's caused a problem already, just by having opened up that load and save thing, when it came back to this scene, it's got rid of the inventory button, which is a problem. So that's another bug that's going to have to go on the sheet. So I'm just going to put general, because it's nothing to do with this thing. A severe problem. After saving game, the inventory button disappears. Oh, actually, that shouldn't be in there. That should be in there. Anytime you save, you need to check what action is triggered when the save game UI closes. Yeah, so there must be something when that save game UI closes, or when it saves, some other menus get turned off. So I need to work out that one. I'm hoping when I go into the next room it's going to come back, but this is related to another bug where if I just do a search for inventory, inventory open button is missing. So I've noticed here, probably after the P scene, add a global event, turn it back on when the scene is loaded, and check if this affects scenes where I turn it off. So what that means is, this is in progress because it's something I've not quite fixed. As a general rule, you could say whenever you move into a new scene, turn on the inventory button, because you can see now I can't access the inventory. Oh, that was another one as well. Double click to run. Woohoo! So you can turn that off. It doesn't look too bad, but yeah, it didn't have to fly off then. So as a general rule, you could go to the global events editor and you could set something up that whenever we load a new scene, turn on the inventory button, and then that will cover every scene load. But there's certain scenes I have, like the close-up of the PC, the close-up of the alarm box, possibly even the close-ups in the dumpsters later on, where I don't want the inventory button. So what I'd have to make sure is that in those specific scenes, that's why I've made the note, check if it affects scenes where I purposefully, that should say purposefully, turn it off. So it's all well and good fixing the inventory button missing, but I might then cause other problems like later on. So yeah, we'll get to that one in a bit. So I've now got the light bulbs anyway. What's going to happen here is I'm going to get to here and I'm not going to be able to use them because I haven't got an inventory button, which is a problem. So this run through now is kind of over because I can't use my inventory button. So I'll try first of all just loading that one and see that when it reloads, does it bring up the inventory button? It doesn't, no. And I can also see a couple of other problems. The power cable and the elastic band have reappeared in the room, and that shouldn't happen at all. The visibility of these items should have been saved in the save file for that, so I have no idea what's going wrong there. That is a much bigger problem. So I'm going to put this as a problem in the storeroom. It's definitely severe. After loading again from the storeroom, the issue is power plug and rubber band have reappeared in scene. Now what I need to check, if I just pause it, is have a look in my inventory. I don't know how I check what's in the player's inventory if it isn't currently open. I think I can force a press of this button. So if I go inventory button, even though I can't see it, can I trigger that? Go to that toggle and just click the run button. This will run the code to bring the inventory up. Yeah, so that's another useful tip actually. So anytime you're in play mode, you can go to any action list and there's a little run button when you're in play mode and you can just run that action list at any time. So all I was doing there is running the action that gets triggered when you press the button, because the button's not there, I can't do it. So you can see that the save file has remembered that I've picked up the elastic band and the plug, but the graphics of the plug and the elastic band are still in the scene, which really shouldn't have happened. I'm not sure why. So I need to check that these have got constant IDs so that they're remembered by the save system. You will have seen over the months I've been doing this that if I go to hotspots, these little discs, like little save icons, that tells you that one of those, that item has got one of these, like remember hotspots or remember visibility or something like that. The reason that it gives you a disk is basically it says that that is going to get saved when the game is saved. It's why they don't do it automatically. It's to stop the save files becoming massive. Like every single item in the whole of the game, its state is saved. There's just no point in that because a lot of them don't need to be. So here, fan cable, that power cable has got this constant ID, but for some reason it doesn't have a remember hotspot. I don't know why. I don't know why I haven't done that. I wasn't even aware you could give it a constant ID without doing a remember hotspot. So that is something we're going to have to fix. The other thing was this elastic band. So is there an elastic band hotspot? Can't see one. Set geometry, elastic band. And again, for some strange reason, it's got a constant ID, but it hasn't got a remember hotspot. I don't think that's correct. I'm going to stop this now because I can't play it anyway. I can't continue that on. So I'm going to stop it. I'm going to go back to that scene. So let's go back to the I don't remember the storeroom, my scenes. Storeroom. So let's just look at these. So elastic band. Yeah, so that's very strange. It's got a constant ID, and it normally gets assigned that when it's got a remember hotspot or a remember visibility on it. So I don't know why that just says constant ID. It's almost like I've removed it at some point. Anyway, there's the elastic band in the scene. This is dark because of the thing that you see all the time. It's got like lights in it that get turned on. It's a great idea, but it makes it very annoying for testing. So I'm going to need to add, I mean, this is me fixing a bug that I've just written there. So I'll just put the resolution there is neither have remember hotspot on. For some reason, they only have constant ID. What are they called? So I'll just set that to in progress because I'm going to just do that now. Before I'm just concerned why that's there. I wouldn't have manually. No, you could. I mean, yeah, Yeah, so constant ID. I wonder why I've set a constant ID. I've maybe accidentally deleted something off them. I don't want to delete that, but what I want to do is do a remember hotspot, because the hotspot's on this asset. So I'm going to do a remember hotspot. The state on start is on. Yeah, so see this constant ID number. It usually gives it here. It doesn't normally add a constant ID property to it. So let's look at the plant in the storeroom. See, remember hotspot, remember visibility. There isn't a constant ID. I wonder if this is from an older version of Adventure Creator, and at some point I've updated it. This constant ID, I'm going to delete it. I'm going to remove that component because it gets given a constant ID here. And that is ultimately, that's used in the save file to give this object a unique identifier that no other object in the game has, and then the properties of that unique object are then saved. So when you reload, it knows whether it was there or not. You can kind of see some of that actually, which is interesting. If you go to settings and up here at the top in the saving section, if you go manage save game files, you'll be able to see in that save that I did at 9:08. You scroll down, oh, why is it saying save game 3 data? Yeah, so this is actually like the data file that's saved by Adventure Creator. So you can see all the global variables and the state that they were in when you saved. And then all your menus and which elements are visible in your menus. You can even copy out the whole thing as a JSON file. Player data, the items you have in your inventory, so it must be all like encoded as in the number of the inventory item that you've got, how your players are set up, all the scenes, so items that are visible, hotspot data, there's some object IDs. So just giving you a bit of an insight into, like, so in that one save file, it's saving every scene and what has been set in every scene. So, I mean, huge amount of work that Chris from Adventure Creator has done over the years. But yeah, for some reason, that didn't have a remember hotspot. So the hotspot would have been reappearing, and it didn't have a remember visibility, which I find very hard to believe that I didn't put them on, but it is very easy to forget. So it's visible at the start, and those two now. What I can't understand is if this elastic band is picked up, I must have set here. So I was doing this take item. So I was using this action list that I've built for taking items. So it disables the hotspot automatically. It makes the sprite invisible. These are passed as parameters here, the item hotspot and the item sprite. So it was the elastic band. So it ran through all of them. It hid them whilst we were playing the game. It added it to the inventory, but then the save game, it didn't save and didn't remember the hotspot visibility and the sprite visibility. So let's fix that. So we fixed that one now. It's got its remember hotspot and remember visibility on it. The other thing was this plug here under the fan, and that is how have I done that? Have I put fan cables? It got a sprite as well. yeah, I've put it in a bit of a weird place there. So again, just gonna remove the constant ID. No, actually I'll add the remember visibility and I'll add the remember hotspot. And they're on in the first instance, they always are, and just check. Yeah, so they have got the same constant ID. I'm just going to remove that. I'm still not sure how that's appeared. Excuse me, I rub my eye. So they should be sorted now. I'm just hoping that there aren't some other issues going on here. So I'm just going to save that. And then of course, I could set that to done, but the reality is it's not done until you've tested it. So what I might do in this progress, then I might actually create one that says, I want to keep them in order. So it needs a retest. So once I've done it, then if I go needs retest, then that'll at least show that I need to go and test it. So I think I fixed it, but it needs a retest. Some of the colours on these, by the way, I think, what did I do? I made a set of colours that would work for me. So when it's stuck, it's bright red, and when it's in progress, it gets my attention. When it's not started, it just doesn't set me off. It was all red, like not started. I'd be like, oh no. So that needs retest. I just haven't given it a colour. I think I did it in, how did I do it? I don't really use Google Sheets as often as I use Microsoft Excel, but that's just through work, I suppose. But yeah, it is pretty powerful. It has got, it's got like data validation stuff, and I must have, oh no, I did it. It was only a couple of days ago. Yeah, set up colours for them basically, so that they get picked up and coloured. Right, so I'm going to test it anyway. I'm going to go back to the start. Now, at the moment, my game's set up so that if I want to test it from the very start, I need to open up the first scene and run it from here. That's fine. Not so much of a problem doing that, but you get sick of doing it after a while. So what you can do in the main settings, while you're testing, if you want, you can create an action list that's run as the game starts. And then the main problem is I forget sometimes. So you can create one of these on start game, and you could have it just automatically load this scene and start from here. So it doesn't really affect anything apart from when I come back to this in a couple of days' time. Why does it keep starting that scene? I will have forgotten. But yeah, you could immediately load the scene that you want to start doing your testing from. So it just jumps that scene, so you don't have to load it in Unity. It doesn't particularly bother me like doing that, but I'll leave that there as an option. If you're just sick of watching this first bit of the introduction, then I could just start it from the next scene, so I don't have to watch this introduction each time. Oh, hello there, Mike2410. Nice to have you on the stream again. Well, thank you. Looks like it's been a very good stream. Who knows? It's lots of me rambling about testing, certainly for the last half an hour or so, because this is the painful bit, I suppose, of going through testing lots and lots of things. Yeah, if there's any questions that come up, Mike, during it, because I know you've asked questions before on the stream, just stick them in the comments on YouTube. It really helps when there's comments on videos, but it's also really good for me to give me some structure to these live streams. If I've got a few questions to go through, then that's handy for me. What I'm going to do now is, as soon as he finishes this little bit of introduction, I'm I could put a skip in here, and I actually do have a variable that's called skip long dialogue. And when I remember, when I'm about to do a big long bit of dialogue with multiple steps like this, I put a check if skip long dialogue is true and just jump all the dialogue right to the very last line so that I can just get through these things much quicker when I'm happy that the pacing, the humour and everything's right at that point. But at this point where we get the this point, so we're set here, we're ready to go, this is where I would use that really powerful thing of putting a save down. So I'm actually going to save over the first one because this was from earlier on today. I'm going to click that. You can see I've got exactly the same bug. So the inventory button is getting killed when you save, and I can say quite confidently that's not me. So something's going wrong with the engine there when it's doing a save. What I should just check is to check the console. Yeah, so there's no errors in the console. It's not like the saving thing is screwed up. It says there that it's saved. But I have a sneaking suspicion, just as with my previous save, if I stop that now and start the game again, one of the problems is when you start the game, it's going straight into this intro, and because it's in the middle of a cutscene, you can't load a game. So a bit of a catch-22. What I really need to do, and I'll do this actually on the next stream, is I need to create a title screen, even if that's just a black screen with a start button. It means then I can set up that the on-game start thing just to load the title screen right at the start, and then you can very quickly just click load game, load that save point where you've been doing your testing from, and continue from there without the cocking round that I'm having to do now. So if I just open up, say, the rooftop scene, because I know that that doesn't go into a cutscene straight away, this is just so I can get there quicker, basically, which seems ludicrous. So here he is on the rooftop. I'm just using this as a way to go load because I haven't made a main menu. So that's the one I saved at 9:32. I've got a horrible feeling that when I load it, yeah, I've got exactly the same problem. So when you're loading a saved game, your inventory button's gone. So yeah, it is a severe problem, which I think it's listed as severe. Anytime you save, the inventory button disappears. Right, let's get this sorted. So let's set it to in progress. I can't retest that one until I've got this sorted out. I think what we should do is in the global events editor, I'm hoping there's a global event for loading a game. So if we create a new one, so save, yeah, there is, excellent. So save, load, save, save after, load, after load. That's a good categorization. Save, load, save. So this is to do with saving, I assume. Load. So after you've loaded a game. When's before you've loaded a game? Right, let's just do after. So I'm going to create a new global event. So on finished loading, that makes sense. Give it a label. I mean, that on finished loading is as good a label as any. Finished loading. So we're going to create an action list that gets triggered whenever we've done that. We don't need any parameters. Well, I'll just leave that as it was. So this action list is going to get run anytime we've finished loading. So what we want to do when we've finished loading is we want to make sure we turn on that inventory underscore button, and that's just the name of this inventory underscore button with a capital B. It's got to be case sensitive. I shouldn't have put a capital B in there. And the problem is these are all strict typed, which is definitely a flaw. When you say turn on menu, it'd be lovely if there was a drop down of all your menus. That would be really handy. If Chris from Adventure Creator is watching any of these streams, then that would be really handy. There's probably a really good reason. Most of his decisions are incredibly good reasons, and he shouldn't listen to me. But yeah, inventory button, that's what we're making sure gets turned on when we've finished a load. The other issue I think I saw, let's try it out here, is actually when you brought up the save UI, we had the same issue, I think. So we've got perfectly functioning inventory button there, but if I bring up the UI and do a save, you see it's disappeared. So something in clicking save shuts all the other menus in the game. So maybe we can just find that issue and stop that from happening. I mean, there's probably a good reason. It's probably so you can't open your inventory over this, or if I go close, yeah, it just doesn't bring it back. So it's partially to do with this menu. This menu is causing problems for my menus. So that menu is actually called, I think it's in-game menu. Maybe it isn't called in-game menu. It's called pause menu. Yeah, save, load and all that. So there's an action list there when that menu gets turned on. All right, yeah, look, there's a load of stuff going on here. What is all of this? These aren't my actions. Auto arrange all of that. So these must be standard things. So some of this is causing these buttons to disappear. What we could do when this menu, like the save menu, pops up, when it's turned off, like when you click close, we're also going to need to run an action to turn on the inventory button. So let's do the same thing here. So menu, turn on menu, inventory underscore button. Now, again, I made a note of one of the knock-on issues I'm going to cause here is if you've saved the game in a scene where there is no inventory button. So when you've got the close-up of the PC, if you're in a dumpster, if you're at the alarm box, I hide the inventory button on purpose, which means if you then went to save the game while you were in that scene, you would then be given an inventory button when you came back. So you'd have to do a set of if switch statements to check you're not in any of those scenes before re-enabling the inventory button, or alternatively, don't let the player save when they're in one of those close-up views, which is probably preferable. But that might also be a problem. I don't think I've ever seen this before. This isn't something I put, this save check. Check to make, is saving possible? Yeah, so I've never set these before. I don't even really know what they do. So there's a potential that you must be able to, when you do manage systems, yeah, so you can disable saving during like the start action of some of those scenes, I think. So I'm going to make a note of this in my bug register because I think it's an important thing that might crop up again. I'm going to call it a severe problem. So managing saving on certain scenes, and so that's when it happens. No, that isn't really when it happens, but no, let's leave it like that. So the issue is want to limit when the player can save, so it's not during close-up scenes. And the resolution to that problem is use the, what was the name of the action? Button. Engine Manage Systems. Use the Engine Manage Systems action to disable saving on the start of those scenes. Check this actually works. So that is not started, but it's something I'm gonna have to just be wary of, I think, because I know this exists, because I use this sometimes to stop people moving, disable movement during a particular cutscene or at a particular point, or on some of them close-ups. I think I might even disable moving. But yeah, it's being used here in this is pre-made setup pause menu. This is something that Chris, the adventure creator, has set up for that menu by default. But what I've done now is basically turned the inventory button back on when there's a save. So let's just check it in this scene, or when you quit out of the menu for a save. So we've got our inventory button. The behavior before was when you came into here, clicked on save, it disappears, which it does. But if I go close and come out of there, it comes back now, yeah. So it's on the, which is perfect. That's exactly what I'm after. So, I mean, to be honest, when this opens, you kind of want it to turn off then as well, because you don't want people fiddling with inventory items while you're doing that. So when this pause menu appears, we want to turn it off as well. So let's do that. So menu, pause. This is the action list that's run when it comes on. Check to make is saving possible. Yeah, so this is what, all that's happening there is whether or not the save button is available in this particular scene. So that's fine, we're still going to run that, but what I'm going to do is turn off inventory button. As soon as that comes up. So it should disappear as soon as that pause menu comes up now, which is, I think, just safer, because the less a player can fiddle with. So it's there, I press escape and it goes straight away. I press escape and it comes back. Perfect. So it means no one can be fiddling with anything. I mean, the inventory itself, if you press escape, that is a separate menu. So really, that needs to be turned off as well. Yeah, so we want to close the inventory and that. So these are all things that, like, I never ever expect to have to be like doing these bug fixes, but this is just how it happens, really. So that pause menu, when it appears, we want to turn off that duplicate after. We also want to turn off, is it just called inventory? I think it is. Inventory. I think that's, I don't need to turn it back on because we want the inventory hidden, but the inventory button visible. So, so it's disappeared, it's back. If I've got that open, I press escape, it turns them both off. When it comes back, I've only told it to turn that one back on. That is hunky-dory. If I load a game, so this one that I saved earlier, is one I saved earlier, that when it was loading, I wasn't getting my inventory button back. Hopefully now when I load this game, I get my inventory button back. Perfect. And this is where I realised earlier on in the stream that this save was all well and good, but these two items, the elastic band and the power cable, are in my inventory, but they're still in the scene because I realised there was a different issue. So this is one of the problems of having a save file and moving that save file along. If something fundamentally wasn't in the code at the time that this save file was done, and in this case it was the remember hotspot and remember visibility for these two items, for some reason I hadn't added them. Now they just don't exist in that save file anymore, so they can't be saved with it. If I pick one back up, now there is a remember hotspot there, and I pick that back up, you can't have more than two items of them. I've set it so that all my items are only singular items. What I should be able to do, fudging the system, is if I save it now, let's save over that one. My inventory button's disappeared. Why is, oh, it's because I didn't fix it for saves. That's why. Stop. So we did it globally for loads on finished loading, but we also need to create one for for saving. So after a save, create a new one on finished saving. Create that. So exactly the same thing. We've got an issue with the same inventory. Oh, actually, rather than doing it here, I should actually just look at the save, because it's to do with the save menu. Again, these aren't issues I've created, they're the standard behaviors of the save UI. So before I do it there manually, let me just go and check. The reason I've got, I think, save old and save new is I imported, I mentioned it earlier on the stream, this UI that's got screenshots, which is really, really helpful. Just to recap, if you're joining the stream late, or if so here on the Adventure Creator downloads page, there's UI template of save game screenshots. So when you import that, it creates a duplicate of your save and load things, which is why I think I've got one called old there. So this save menu, exactly the same here. When that's turned off, the action list when turn off will not run if the menu is turned off as a result of loading a save game. Save list elements action list after load should be used instead. All right, helpful. So the save lists element action list after load. So save list down here, list element, action list after saving. So to be honest, I don't know what the difference is between this, an action list that runs after the game is saved, and this, which is a global event that runs after you've finished saving. I have no idea what the difference is. I'm going to set it here because I feel like I'm more likely to remember this, because the global events thing is powerful. This is something I didn't even know existed till about 20 seconds ago. So I'm going to stick with that as my method of making sure that that inventory button comes back once you've done a save. So let's go to here again. Let's load that one that's there. and we've got that as we expected to. But if we save over it, just move him to here, and this is why the screenshots are really useful. Just move him to a different place so I can see him on the screenshot. All of that's working great. But if I save now, save over it. Oh, you also notice as well, I'm going to click close here. The cable and the elastic band are now correctly not showing because they're in my inventory, because there was now value pairs for it to save against, because they basically didn't have, they weren't remembering whether they were visible or not. So if I now what was I doing? If I now save that again over that, yes, so that's ran now and given my inventory button back. So I think that is fixed in my mind. I've now not got that issue. These are remembering where they were. I've got them in my inventory. I haven't got like, yeah, I've not set up examine things for everything yet. So that's all good. I think I can actually set one of these to complete. So power plug rubber band, neither of them, right. So I've retested that. It is done. Yay! It's gone green. Managing saving uncertainties. So I'm going to leave that there because some of that I'm now forcing that inventory button to reappear, and that could cause some issues. It's the same as this one. A global event to turn it back on when a scene is loaded, and check if this affects scenes where I purposefully turn off the thing. So that is something I still need to decide what to do with. It could be that I just set up a if statement in that forced button and make sure it's not a particular scene that we're loading before you force the button on. That might be the simplest way to do it when you're loading. Or just, as I said before, don't allow people to save in those couple of scenes. Let's just have a little look at that actually. Let's go to, so like the alarm box scene, just to have people not be able to save in here. Let's see how that works. So if I press escape, it's that save button should be disabled in this scene, because that's what I saw in that default action. So if I went to on start this scene, so you can see I turn off the inventory button in this one and turn on the UI for the alarm. What we could do is just at the start of this scene, just go engine, manage systems, saving, disabled. And then we must remember when we leave this scene to change that back. So the only way to leave this scene is this back to storeroom button. And that surrounds the whole UI here. So when we switch back to the thing, we turn off the alarm UI. And what we also want to do is manage systems and enable saving again before it switches back to the storeroom. So that should mean, I've never done this before, but from what I've learned in the last 5 minutes, this should mean that from here, when I press escape, yeah, perfect. You can't save. You like literally physically can't save from this scene. But then if I go back to here, oh, actually, I've just thought of something else. Yeah, so my other buttons here are still clickable. Yeah, and it's partially probably because these are custom buttons. I notice it's not playing the sounds. Yeah, you will have heard that, probably quite loud as well. Came on my speakers loud. So yeah, when it's in pause, there must be something that it does with the audio, but these are all still clickable because they're not part of a menu. I had to make some custom buttons for this particular puzzle. But yeah, that's just dawned on me. Get it in the bug log. So in the alarm box, it's not a severe problem. It's a quality issue. This is going to be it'll happen at any time during pause menu. The issue is alarm box buttons are still clickable. Solution, disable all. Actually, I don't know if you can disable all of the clicks, but what I could do is extend that pause menu to fill the screen and then have the background of that pause menu, even if it was just like a I don't know, like a 20% black cover for the game effectively. So when the pause menu comes up, it's not just like a little menu in the middle of the screen, it covers the whole. So instead of this little grey box here, this expands right the way out over here, and we should have the little menu in the middle with some nice graphics and nicer text, and this is all default stuff that comes with it. Then that could capture the clicks so they wouldn't click through. I could set that up. So that's probably the solution. Disable all game buttons by extending the pause menu across the whole screen to capture clicks. Yeah, so there's my solution for another day. As I said earlier on, I wouldn't just go about fixing these as I find them. There's just been a couple of interesting ones which I think are probably useful to people who watch these streams. There's some interesting topics come up here. So we definitely, well, that's strange as well. That button, when I press escape, you hear the sound effect for it because it seems to get stored. So anyway, what I was checking is you can't save here, but if I return to the storeroom, as soon as you need to save again, yeah, it comes back. So we've made sure we can do that. So, excellent. I think that's probably going to have to be it. It is 10 o'clock, so that's been a little bit longer than usual. So, recap, what have I done today? Loads, I can't remember now. I did a little bit of, what to start with? Oh, Tyler's walk cycles, a talk cycle from the other direction. Some updates to the shop exterior which got imported. Talked a little bit about the blokes hiding behind their masks. Showed a bit of that alarm puzzle that I've ended up on there at the end, and how I made a custom C# script to run some of that, and the offer of a tutorial on that in particular. If that's of interest to people, just stick a comment if that particular alarm puzzle is of interest, because it does some interesting things. And then quite a bit there on testing and the save system, which is meant to make testing much, much easier. But as you saw there, there's obviously some problems with it that need sorting out first. So I hope that's been interesting. As always, it's been jumping from pillar to post, but that is the warts and all bit of doing this kind of solo game dev. So last thing is to thank everyone again for all their nice comments, their liking, their subscribing, and thanks to Chris and Mike who've been here live on the chat for at least most of or some of the stream between the two of them. I'm not sure if I'll be on next Sunday, but I'll be on at some point. I'll be trying to do more, well, at least one live stream a week and cracking on with more of the game in my spare time. So thanks again, and I will hopefully see you within the week. Let's say that. Okay, cheers. Thanks a lot.